serve and emulate Sarah and Abraham. What do? They welcome guests. So today you're all going to be treated by me. And I'm also going to tell you at least 10 things that we learn from this parsha. First of all, Hashem comes to Abraham. He's just had a bris. So what do we learn from there?
Bikar cholim.
Bikar cholim. If Hashem can do it, nobody can say they're too busy. If Hashem has time, you have time. Now, where was Abraham? He was out there, and he was so happy to greet his guests. He went running back and forth, running, and he said, I'll give you a little bread, he says to the three angels who he assumed were men. He says, a little bread, and then he proceeds to serve them a lot. A whole festive meal. Butter and milk and cream and sheep and goat and all that. So it learns, what do we learn? Say a little, do a lot. Don't talk a lot about what you're going to do and all these plans or whatever. Do. My grandfather used to say T and T and T. Do and do. That's the translation. So we learn, say a little, but do a lot. Then he says, I'm going to bring you, and he brings them a little water to wash their feet. Here he's serving this sumptuous meal, and when it comes to the water to wash their feet, he suddenly becomes so stingy. What it is he was responsible for the food and everything else. But someone else had to bring the water, one of the servants. For them, he did not want to burden them. So when it's your mitzvah, you can do it as much as you want. You can do it as fast and as diligent. But when it's someone else, don't put the burden on them. So for them, he said, just bring a little water. Once a great rabbi was washing his hands. And again, he only washed up to here, very little. And they said, why are you doing that? He says, because the servant has to bring water to everybody from the well. So why should I impose more burdens on them? And then again, we say, don't overwork others. Then, later on, we see that that the angels say, where is your wife? Like they didn't know. She's in the tent, he answers. First of all, it shows where you have to be as women, we have to be interior. Our place is in the home. We have to do chesed, but our first place is in the home, and to be interior, and to be more tznius, and to be more modest. But the angels made Abraham aware of the fact by asking the questions. It's nice when you say to someone, how are your children doing in school? Tell me about them. How is your wife doing? It's very proper, in the right way, to ask about another spouse, just so that they have an opportunity to appreciate that spouse, but again, in the right way. And you should compliment others in this way. It says also that Mamre, why is it called in the place Elonei Mamre? Mamre is mentioned because when Avram didn't know about doing the bris, he went to Mamre, and Mamre said, of course you should do it, because Avram was worried that perhaps it would change his reputation or image, but Mamre gave good advice. When we are consulted for advice, give good advice. Be very cautious about the type of advice you give, because people will take it to heart. And it says, Ya'atznu ra on Yom Kippur, that's for the bad advice you gave, even inadvertently. So give it with sincerity in the right way. Now, of course, 3 angels came. One was going to destroy Sodom, one was going to save Lot, and one, of course, was going to tell Sarah she was having a baby. And she laughed. And then she denied it. And some Farshim said that she actually did laugh because she said, how could it be a woman like her in her late stage in life? 2 things we learned from that. First of all, when you repeat something, the shalom bias, you can change it a little, and it's not called lying, it's called making it better. Because when Hashem goes and tells Abraham, he doesn't say, your wife said, you're an old man. He said, she thinks she's too old. So we have to use our seichel, we have to be smart. And when it comes to shalom bayis, you could tell somebody, you look wonderful, or this food tastes good, even if it's a little off. So that's shalom bayis. But of course, only shalom bayis. And there's 2 other instances to keep friendships, to keep peace between people, and another instance. So he goes, and then she says, how could it be? But if we learn from here, nothing is impossible for Hashem. And she laughed a little, and they said, why? Because she was fearful. You know, when they said, did she laugh? She said, no. And for that reason, women cannot be witnesses, because they tend to be more fearful. They tend to have more humility, and they might, when pressured, not want to say what really happened. So that's where we learn that from. And nothing is impossible for Hashem. That is a big thing that we learn from this week's Parsha. Because she said, how could it be? But they say the watchmaker who made the watch, of course he can repair it. He made the watch. Finally, I'll finish with, listen to your wife. Who doesn't want to hear that one? Listen to your wife. When it's time to throw Yishmael out of the house, Abraham says, listen to your wife. And whatever we do, we have to give God nachas. So we know that nothing is impossible. And in this week's Parsha, this is the bracha. Did anyone ever lose anything? And you know, there's a special bracha you say. It's in this week's parsha where Hashem opens the eyes of Yishmael's mother, of Hagar. Rearranged, it means harag, killed. She kills me. Anyway, because later on she asks for the life of Yishmael, and it continues. I'll end with something you could all take home. Yitzchak. Yitzchak. There is the Akedas Yitzchak. It's called the binding of Yitzchak, because what you're really doing, he was never told to kill him. He was only told to lift him up as a sacrifice. He never said to kill him. So it says, bind him. We bind our will to Hashem's will. Whatever we do, we have to do for Hashem. Is this going to give Hashem nachas? Is this going to give your parents nachas? And it says, Yitzchak, you can remember this, Yud stands for the 10 Commandments. Tzaddik, 90 is the age, of Sarah. Ches, 8,
the bris
8 days of the bris milah, and Kuf is 100. Abraham was 100 years old, so Yitzchak you'll always remember, okay? Listen to your mother, give nachas to everyone. I give nachas for my mother.
Great. Amen. Thank you.